In this tutorial, I'm going to be going over how to make this navigation bar for your website. As you can see, it's a little bit more customized than the ones we've been doing in HTML. It takes a little bit more work, but not too much. You must have Photoshop in order to complete it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the final product right here. And then I'm going to start by doing a whole new one so you can see each step. Alright, so here's my new layer. The dimensions are going to be 1000 pixels wide and 35 pixels tall. That's going to be fittable for our, like just beneath our banner. It's not too big and not too small, so it'll look pretty good. So I'm going to start out by making this layer nice and dark, and or light for however your website looks, in which my case it's dark. And I'm going to put a pattern over it as a texture right here. This is just a texture that I found online. A lot of websites use this type of texture to make it look like a real object. So I'm going to turn the opacity down quite a bit to about 35, so you can see it but not too clear. It doesn't overwhelm the color of the navigation bar. So once we have that in, we're going to create a new layer, and in this layer we're going to create our buttons. So I just used my best judgment to see how big I want the button to be. I know I need 5 for my home page, my homework, classwork, midterm, and final. So I'm going to make one about this big, and I'm going to fill it with white to begin with. And I'm going to duplicate this 5 times for each different button. So I'm just going to create a new one, and I'm going to move this one over. I move it over just barely, like that. And then I'm going to duplicate this one and move this one over just barely. This one. And then, see, we're running out of space a little bit, so that's okay. I'm just going to create the next one. And then I'm going to merge them together and shrink it down so it fits. So once I have that, I'm going to merge all these together. And once I do that, I can see the controls, and I'm going to make them even like that. Take them off so I can see what it looks like. Okay, we have a slight problem. This one isn't showing up, but I can go back and fix that. Okay, so now that they're all evenly distributed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the opacity down low. Okay, I'll do 5%. So 5%, and then I'm going to create a new layer. And this is going to be where our navigation words are going to come into play. So I'm going to start out, zoom in a little bit so we can see. And I'm going to center this. And I'm also going to duplicate this layer 5 times for all the different pages we have. And I'll resume when I finish that. So once I have the words up there in each button, I'm going to add a final touch, and this is just to make it look kind of glossy. So I'm going to get the marquee tool here, and I'm going to make this go down about halfway. And I'm going to fill that similar to the way we did the first time with the white. And I'm going to turn the opacity down really low on this one. I do about 3%. That's actually a little bit much, I think, but it's any preference. I'll leave it for now, but 3%. So this gives it kind of a gloss look, which makes it look a little bit more realistic again. So, so this is actually a finished product. So what we're going to do is we're going to save it, and save it as navigation is what I did, and make sure it goes in your website folder. So I'll save, and I have one similar to this, so I'll just replace it. And in our website, I'll refresh it, and here's what it looks like right here. So now we're going to implement it into the site. So we have to, I'm doing it as an area, as a map, as an image map. So the downfall is that it doesn't highlight over when you put your mouse, when you hover over the button, but they do link to each page. So I did that by basically taking our original image map instruction for HTML, and I just linked it to the actual home page rather than a new site, for example. So we got the coordinates from Photoshop. Basically, all you do for that is you take this anchor point right here and you bring it over to any part of the image, and up in the top left hand corner up here you can see the X and Y, and you just do that for each button. I just use rectangle, so I'd use this point and then this point, and I just continue across, and I would put them in and they link to each page. So that's how you implement your navigation bar in Photoshop.